Captain Jae-ho Kim stood before the large window of the Galactic Council's observation deck, watching the blue planet called Earth grow larger as their ship approached. He had seen many worlds in his 15 years as a research officer, but this one was different. This world had done something that no other civilization had managed in the recorded history of the galaxy. "Captain, the latest report is ready," said Dr. Na-young Park, walking up beside him. She held up a data pad showing pictures of humans with various Earth creatures. "Look at this. They live with predators in their homes. They sleep next to them." Jae-ho took the pad and looked through the images. Humans keeping large, fanged animals called dogs as guards. Small humans, children, playing with scaled creatures called lizards. But what caught his attention most were the pictures of an animal called a cat. "These small predators," he said, pointing to a cat picture, "they look just like juvenile void stalkers." Na-young finished his sentence. "Same eye structure, same body shape, same hunting patterns. But instead of running away or fighting them, humans." She showed him a video of a human scratching a cat's chin while the creature made a rumbling sound. The ship's computer announced their arrival at Earth's main space station. As they prepared to dock, Jae-ho remembered the reason for their urgent mission. 3 days ago, a mining colony had discovered a void stalker nest. The deadly creatures had killed everyone except for the human mining crew. When the rescue teams arrived, they found something impossible. The humans had somehow calmed the void stalkers and were feeding them from their hands. How did they do it? Jae-ho wondered out loud. Void stalkers have destroyed entire civilizations. The Meridian Empire fell to them. The crystal worlds were abandoned because of them. But humans just pet them. They walked through the space station's corridors, heading to their first meeting with Earth's animal behavior experts. The station walls were covered with pictures of humans and their animal companions. Jae-ho stopped at one that showed a small human child sleeping, with both a dog and a cat curled up next to them. "That should be impossible," Na-young said, looking at the picture. "Those are 2 different predator species, and they're both guarding the same human child. No other species in the galaxy has achieved this level of animal cooperation." Their guide, Hae-jin Lee from Earth's Space Relations Department, smiled at their amazement. "Would you like to visit our animal shelter?" he asked. "We just got some new puppies yesterday. You can hold them if you want." Jae-ho and Na-young looked at each other in shock. Hold predators? Voluntarily. But Hae-jin's calm smile made them curious. Maybe this was why they were here, to understand how humans could be so comfortable with dangerous creatures. As they followed Hae-jin, Jae-ho thought about the void stalker situation. If humans could really tame those deadly creatures, it would change everything. Wars could be prevented. Dangerous planets could be made safe. But first, they needed to understand how humans did it. "Here we are," Hae-jin said, opening a door. Inside, they heard happy barking sounds and saw several Earth creatures wagging their tails. "Don't be shy," Hae-jin encouraged them. "They're all very friendly." Jae-ho took a deep breath and stepped forward. He had faced space pirates and angry alien diplomats, but somehow this seemed more challenging. As he reached out to touch his first Earth dog, he wondered if he was about to discover the secret that could change the galaxy forever. The small brown puppy licked his hand, and for the first time, Jae-ho understood why humans kept these creatures close. There was something special here, something that might help them solve the greatest predator problem in galactic history. The next morning, Jae-ho and Na-young sat in a small room at the Earth Animal Research Center, watching videos of humans interacting with different animals. They had been there for 3 hours, and Na-young couldn't stop taking notes. "Look at this again," she said, replaying a video of a human approaching a scared cat. The human moves slowly, blinks softly, and turns sideways. It's exactly like the successful void stalker encounter at the mining colony. She pointed to another screen showing the mining incident. The movements were indeed very similar. Jae-ho leaned forward in his chair. "But how do they know to do this? Who taught them?" Their questions were answered when senior animal handler Sun Mikang walked in. She carried a small box that made quiet mewing sounds. "I brought someone for you to meet," she said with a warm smile. She opened the box, and a tiny black cat stepped out, looking around with curious yellow eyes. "This is Milo," Sun Mai explained. "He was a scared street cat last month. Now he helps us train new animal handlers." She sat down and waited. The cat walked around the room, sniffing everything, including the two aliens' feet. Jai-Ho tried very hard not to move. He had touched dogs yesterday, but cats looked so much like baby void stalkers that it made him nervous. Na-young, however, was fascinated. She watched as Milo jumped onto a shelf and sat down, staring at them. "The first rule of handling any animal," Sun Mai said, "is to let them come to you. Force never works. Trust must be earned." She took out a small treat and placed it on the table. Milo's ears perked up, but he stayed on his shelf. "But what about dangerous animals?" Jai-Ho asked. The void stalkers at the mining colony were fully grown. They had already killed people. Sun Lei nodded seriously. "Every animal, no matter how dangerous, gives warnings before it attacks. The secret is learning to read their language." She pointed at Milo, who was now slowly coming down from the shelf. "Watch his tail, his ears, his whiskers. They tell you everything you need to know." As if proving her point, Milo walked to the treat, his tail straight up with a little curve at the end. "That means he's happy and friendly," Sun Mai explained. "A low tail means fear. A twitching tail means anger. These signs are universal among similar species." Na-young's eyes widened. The void stalkers showed the same tail positions before the humans approached them. She quickly pulled up the mining colony footage. The deadly creatures had indeed held their tails high, just like Milo. Jai-Ho watched as the cat finished its treat and walked over to Sun Mai, rubbing against her legs. "But why aren't humans afraid?" he asked. "Every other species runs from predators. Humans play with them." Sun Mai picked up Milo, who started purring loudly. "Fear and love can't exist in the same space," she said simply. "When we approach animals with love and respect, they sense it. Even the deadliest creatures respond to kindness." Just then, Hajin burst into the room. His face was pale. "We have a problem," he said quickly. "A void stalker has escaped at the research facility. It's loose in the building." Na-young jumped up, knocking over her chair. "We need to evacuate immediately." But Sun Mai remained calm, still holding Milo. The cat had stopped purring and was staring at the door intently. "No," she said, standing up slowly. "This is exactly what we've been preparing for. Get me access to the facility. I need to see how the void stalker is behaving." Jai-Ho looked at her like she was crazy. "It's too dangerous." Sun Li smiled, scratching Milo behind his ears. "Everything we've learned about cats, everything we know about predator behavior, it's all been leading to this moment. Trust me." As they rushed to the facility, Jai-Ho couldn't help but wonder, were humans brave or just crazy? He was about to find out. The research facility was in chaos when they arrived. Security officers ran through the halls, and emergency lights flashed everywhere. He-Jin led them to the control room, where screens showed different parts of the building. On one screen, they could see the void stalker. The creature was larger than any cat Jai-Ho had ever seen. Its black fur seemed to absorb light, and its 6 eyes glowed with an eerie green color. As it moved through the facility's corridors, its long tail left small burns on the floor. "How did it escape?" Na-young asked, watching the screens carefully. Hajin shook his head. "A power failure in its containment unit. The backup systems failed too. We've evacuated most of the staff, but we're missing 2 researchers." Sun Mi studied the void stalker's movements on the screen. The creature wasn't running or attacking. Instead, it was walking slowly, stopping to smell things, just like Milo had done in the meeting room. "It's exploring," she said. "It's not hunting." "Not hunting." Jai-Ho couldn't believe it. Void stalkers always hunt. They've destroyed entire planets. Look at its tail. Sunmei pointed to the screen. It's held high, with a slight curve. Its ears are forward, not flat against its head. It's curious, not aggressive. Just then, they heard screams through the security system. The two missing researchers appeared on another screen. They were trapped in a laboratory, and the Void Stalker was heading straight for them. We have to do something. He-Jin reached for the emergency alarm, but Sunmei stopped him. No loud noises, she said firmly. That will only make things worse. She grabbed a bag from her pocket, the same treats she had used with Milo. I'm going in. That's suicide. Jiho tried to block the door. Those aren't cat treats in your bag. This isn't a house cat. Sunmei smiled. Every predator is afraid when it's alone in a strange place. This one is just a very big, very lost cat. She turned to He-Jin. Give me access to the lab's speaker system and get me a laser pointer. Ne-Young gasped. A weapon? No, Sunmei laughed softly. The best cat toy ever invented. Through the screens, they watched Sunmei walk calmly toward the laboratory. The Void Stalker had reached the door where the researchers were hiding. It was sniffing the air, its tail now moving back and forth. Its behavior is changing, Ne-Young whispered. The tail movement. It smells the researchers' fear, Sunmei said through her communicator. Time to give it something else to think about. She clicked on the laser pointer, creating a small red dot on the floor near the Void Stalker. The effect was immediate. All 6 of the creature's eyes locked onto the red dot. Its ears perked up, and its tail stopped twitching. Sunmei moved the dot slowly along the floor, away from the laboratory door. The Void Stalker followed. It's working. He-Jin couldn't believe his eyes. The deadliest creature in the galaxy was chasing a laser pointer dot like a common house cat. Sunmei led the Void Stalker away from the researchers, down the corridor toward a secure containment room. The creature followed the red dot, occasionally pouncing at it. Its movements were exactly like a cat playing with a toy. Now, Sunmei said softly, watch what happens when we add a familiar sound to a familiar game. She reached for the speaker controls and pressed a button. The sound that came through the speakers was simple, one that humans had used for thousands of years to call their cats. Tss. The Void Stalker's 6 eyes widened at the tss sound. Its pointed ears turned toward the speakers, and its tail rose higher. In the control room, Jiho and Ne-Young held their breath, watching the screens intently. Sunmei kept making the sound through the speaker system while slowly walking into view. The Void Stalker saw her but didn't attack. Instead, it made a sound that no one had ever heard from its species before, a deep, rumbling purr. Impossible, Ne-Young whispered, quickly recording everything with her datapad. It's responding exactly like a domestic cat. Sunmei took a treat from her pocket and knelt down, holding it out. The Void Stalker approached her carefully, its nose twitching as it smelled the air. Its 6 eyes blinked slowly, one pair at a time. She's going to get herself killed, Jiho said, reaching for the emergency alarm. But He-Jin stopped him. Wait, He-Jin said. Look at its body language. Everything Sunmei told us earlier. The tail position, the ear position, the slow blinking. The Void Stalker is showing all the friendly signs. The creature was now just a few steps away from Sunmei. Its black fur rippled like shadows in water, and the green glow from its eyes lit up the corridor. Everyone watching expected it to attack at any moment. But instead, it did something even more surprising. It sat down. Just like a house cat asking for a treat, the galaxy's deadliest predator sat down in front of Sunmei and waited patiently. She held out the treat in her palm, and the Void Stalker took it gently, being careful not to scratch her with its sharp teeth. Good kitty, Sunmei said softly, reaching out her other hand very slowly. The Void Stalker sniffed her fingers, then pushed its head against her hand. The deep purring grew louder. In the control room, Young was almost jumping with excitement. This changes everything we know about Void Stalkers. They're not mindless killing machines. They're just big space cats. Jai-Ho watched in amazement as Sunmai began scratching behind the creature's ears. The Void Stalker closed all 6 of its eyes in pleasure, leaning into her touch. The burns its tail had left on the floor earlier were gone. Its tail now curled happily around Sunmi's arm without causing any harm. The mining colony wasn't a coincidence, Ho Jin realized. The Void Stalkers there weren't showing mercy. They were responding to the humans the same way this one is. Like cats meeting potential friends. Sunmi stood up slowly, and the Void Stalker followed her, walking beside her like a pet. She led it toward the containment room, but this time the room's door was open, and treats made a trail inside. The creature walked in willingly, purring the whole time. "We need to contact the Galactic Council immediately," Jai-Ho said, finally understanding what they had just witnessed. This isn't just about handling dangerous animals. Humans haven't just tamed the galaxy's deadliest predator. They've proven that Void Stalkers have been misunderstood for thousands of years. Nayum was already sending the recording to the Council. Think about it. Every time Void Stalkers attacked other species, those species fought back or ran away. But humans, she smiled, watching Sunmi play with the now happy creature through the containment room window. Humans said, "Ps, ps, ps, ps," and offered them treats. The Void Stalker had curled up in a corner of its room, all 6 eyes half closed in contentment. It looked exactly like Milo had earlier that day, just much bigger and with more eyes. Sun Ni joined them in the control room, covered in black fur that sparkled like stars. "Well," she said with a smile, "I think we just found homes for all those Void Stalkers the Council has been trying to eliminate. We're going to need a lot of laser pointers." News of Sun Mi's success spread quickly through the galaxy. Within hours, the Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. The main chamber was packed with representatives from every spacefaring species, all watching the recording of Sun Mi taming the Void Stalker. "Play it again," ordered the council leader, leaning forward in his seat. The screen showed Sun Mi making the sound, and the Void Stalker responding like a common house cat. Such a simple sound. How did we never think of this? Jai-Ho stood before the council, presenting their findings. The sound has been used by humans for thousands of years to call cats. We believe Void Stalkers and Earth cats share similar brain structures, making them respond to the same signals. Nayoung stepped forward with her data. "In the past 12 hours, we've tested this method at 3 different Void Stalker containment facilities. The results were all the same." She played a series of short videos showing other humans successfully calling Void Stalkers using the same technique. The council chamber filled with amazed whispers. Species that had lost colonies to Void Stalkers watched in disbelief as the creatures acted like friendly pets. Some representatives even cried, thinking of all the lives lost in past conflicts with these misunderstood animals. Meanwhile, back at the research facility, Sunmi was teaching other handlers how to work with the Void Stalker. She had named it Shadow, and it followed her everywhere, purring constantly. The creature's 6 eyes would track her movement around the room, and its tail would curl happily whenever she came close. The secret, Sunmi explained to a group of alien observers, is to never show fear. Void Stalkers, like cats, can sense emotions. When you approach them with love and confidence, they respond with friendship. She demonstrated by calling Shadow with the sound. The huge creature bounded over like an excited kitten, its paws leaving small glowing footprints that faded after a few seconds. The observers gasped as Shadow rolled over, asking for belly rubs. But please remember, Sun Mi warned, just like with regular cats, the belly rub might be a trap. She laughed as Shadow playfully batted at her hand with its massive paw, careful not to use its claws. He Jin entered the room with exciting news from the council. "They've approved the creation of a new department," he announced. "The Interstellar Felida Relations Division. Sun Mi, They want you to leave the training program. There's more, Jai-Ho added, walking in behind Ho-Jin. The mining colony incident wasn't isolated. We're getting reports from all over the galaxy. Wherever humans have encountered Void Stalkers, they've instinctively tried to befriend them. And it's worked every time. Na-Young pulled up a star map showing green dots where successful Void Stalker tamings had occurred. Look at this pattern, she said excitedly. The Void Stalkers have been following ancient space trading routes. They might have been trying to make contact all along, but every species except humans responded with violence. Sun Mai sat on the floor next to Shadow, who had fallen asleep with its huge head in her lap. The creature that had once terrorized the galaxy now snored softly, making small chirping sounds in its sleep. Sometimes, she said, gently stroking Shadow's star-speckled fur, the most powerful force in the universe isn't advanced technology or powerful weapons. Sometimes it's just knowing when to say "ps-ps-ps" and offer a treat. Dr. Na-Young Park stood in her laboratory, surrounded by holographic displays showing DNA patterns. After 3 weeks of intensive research, she had finally found what she was looking for. The connection between Earth cats and Void Stalkers was more interesting than anyone had imagined. Look at this, she said to Jai-Ho, who had just entered the lab. She pointed to 2 DNA strands floating in the air. One belonged to a house cat, the other to a Void Stalker. These patterns match perfectly. They share an ancestor. Jai-Ho walked closer to the displays, his eyes wide. How is that possible? Earth cats evolved on Earth, and Void Stalkers come from the outer regions of the galaxy. Na-Young smiled and pressed a button. A new image appeared, showing an ancient stone carving from Earth. It showed humans worshipping cat-like creatures that came from the stars. Earth wasn't the first home of cats, she explained. They came from space, just like the Void Stalkers. In another part of the facility, Sun Mai was working with Shadow and 3 other Void Stalkers. The creatures played together like ordinary cats, chasing laser pointers and fighting over toys. Their 6 eyes glowed with different colors when they were happy, and their purring made the room vibrate. The ancient Egyptians were right, Na-Young continued, showing more historical images. They said cats were divine beings from the stars. We thought they were just making up stories. But they were recording history. Jin entered the lab carrying more research data. We found similar stories in every human culture, he said. The Vikings had tales of space cats. Ancient China wrote about 6-eyed guardian spirits. Every human civilization has stories about magical cats from the stars. Na-Young's research revealed something even more surprising. The Void Stalkers didn't come to Earth to hunt, she explained. They came looking for friends. Earth was the only planet where they found a species, humans, that didn't run away in fear. The proof was in the DNA. Over thousands of years, some Void Stalkers had stayed on Earth. They change, becoming smaller and losing their extra eyes. They became the cats that humans knew today. The ones that left Earth stayed in space, keeping their original form. But here's the most important discovery, Na-Young said, showing a brain scan of both species. Both Earth cats and Void Stalkers have special brain patterns that respond to human emotions. They can feel what humans feel. That's why they become friendly when humans approach them with kindness. In the training area, Sun Mai was teaching new handlers from different alien species. You have to believe they want to be friends, she told them. Your feelings matter more than any technique. Jai-Ho watched as alien visitors made their first attempts at the ts sound. Some got it right away, while others needed practice. But the Void Stalkers responded to all of them, sensing their good intentions. We've been fighting them for centuries, one alien visitor said, as a Void Stalker rubbed against his legs. All this time, they just wanted what Earth cats have, a home and someone to care for them. Na-Young added one final piece of data to her research. The Void Stalkers didn't destroy those colonies by accident, she concluded. They were trying to communicate the only way they knew how. When humans showed them a better way, everything changed. The galaxy was learning an important lesson from Earth. Sometimes the best way to deal with a feared enemy is to offer friendship instead of fear. And sometimes, the most powerful weapon in the universe is a simple 3 months after the discovery of the connection between Earth cats and Void Stalkers, the Interstellar Felida Research Institute opened its doors. The building, located in orbit around Earth, looked like a giant space station shaped like a cat's head. Hejin stood at the main entrance, greeting visitors from across the galaxy. Inside the institute, different sections focused on different aspects of cat-related research. The largest area was the training center, where Sunmei worked with both Earth cats and Void Stalkers. She taught alien visitors how to approach, handle, and care for these creatures. Today's lesson is about treats, Sunmei explained to a group of alien students. Shadow, her first Void Stalker friend, sat beside her like a teaching assistant. Every cat, whether from Earth or space, responds to rewards. But the timing of the treat is very important. Jaiho had taken on a new role as the galaxy's first alien pet adoption counselor. His office walls were covered with pictures of successful adoptions, aliens with their new Earth cats, and rehabilitated Void Stalkers. Each picture showed a happy family, proving that friendship knew no species barriers. The most important question I ask, Jaiho told a nervous alien couple, is not whether you can handle a Void Stalker, but whether you're ready to love one. On his desk, a small Earth cat named Whiskers played with a toy, showing visitors that even the smallest cats deserve respect and care. Nayum's research department made new discoveries every day. They found that Void Stalkers could understand over 50 different human words, just like Earth cats. They also discovered that the creatures' glowing eyes changed color based on their emotions: green for happiness, blue for calm, and purple for playfulness. The most fascinating thing, Nayoung explained during a presentation, is how they communicate with each other. Earth cats and Void Stalkers can understand each other perfectly. They share the same body language, even though they evolved separately for thousands of years. The institute also had a large recreation area where cats and Void Stalkers could play together. The sight of small Earth cats playing with their giant space cousins became normal. Visitors would watch in amazement as a tiny kitten fearlessly batted at a Void Stalker's tail, and the larger creature would play along gently. Hejin's office overlooked this play area. He spent many hours watching the interactions, remembering how just a few months ago, Void Stalkers were considered the galaxy's deadliest predators. Now they were beloved pets, thanks to humanity's simple approach of offering friendship instead of showing fear. We've received adoption requests from over 500 planets, Hejin told his staff during a meeting. Every major space station wants a cat cafe. The Galactic Council has requested Void Stalker therapy animals for their next peace conference. The Institute's success led to an unexpected benefit. Peace. Species that had fought for centuries found common ground in their love for these animals. Former enemies became friends, sharing stories about their pets and trading cat toys from different planets. At the end of each day, Sunmei would gather all the cats and Void Stalkers for dinner time. The sound of steps would echo through the Institute's halls, followed by the happy running of paws both large and small. The purring of dozens of content creatures, from tiny kittens to massive Void Stalkers, created a peaceful harmony that represented the galaxy's new future. 1 year after the first Void Stalker was tamed, Sunmei stood before the Galactic Council to give her final report. The Grand Chamber looked very different now. Where once there had been nervous guards and weapons scanners, there were now comfortable cushions where Void Stalkers lounged beside their alien owners. Several Earth cats had also made the chamber their home, playing with laser pointers during long meetings. In the past year, Sunmei began, while Shadow sat proudly beside her. We have successfully placed over 10,000 Void Stalkers with loving families across the galaxy. Not a single incident of aggression has been reported. The council leader nodded, scratching behind the ears of his own Void Stalker, a gentle giant he had named Starlight. And what about the wild populations? He asked. Jai-Ho stepped forward with his report. Every known Void Stalker colony has been contacted using our new approach. Most have chosen to join civilization as companions. Those who prefer to remain wild are now protected, and space routes have been adjusted to respect their territories. Na-Young presented her latest research findings next. The large screens showed maps of ancient space routes and genetic data. We have confirmed that both Earth cats and Void Stalkers originated from a single planet in the Whisker Nebula, she explained. This planet was destroyed millions of years ago, forcing both species to find new homes. Hajin added the economic report. The success of the Interstellar Felida Research Institute had created new industries across the galaxy. Cat cafes appeared on every space station. Pet supply shops sold specialized toys for six-eyed cats. The galaxy's economy was booming, all because humans had fought to say to a deadly predator. But the most important change, Sun Mei continued, is in how we view those who are different from us. She gestured to the chamber, where former enemy species sat together, united by their love for their pets. The Void Stalkers taught us that fear often prevents us from making wonderful discoveries and friends. As if to prove her point, Shadow stood up and walked over to a group of alien children who were visiting the council. The huge creature lay down gently, letting them pet its star-speckled fur. The children's parents, who once would have run in terror, now took pictures and smiled. Humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy, the council leader concluded, was not technology or weapons or trade goods. It was teaching us that sometimes the best way to deal with something scary is to offer it friendship and a treat. After the meeting, Sun Mai returned to the institute with her team. In her office, she kept a special picture frame. It showed the security camera image from 1 year ago, the first time she had made the sound Shadow. Next to it was a new picture of Shadow playing with kittens in the institute's recreation area. "You know what's funny?" she said to Jai-Ho and Na-Young as they watched the sunset from the institute's observation deck. "Humans spent thousands of years looking for intelligent life in space. We expected to find it in complicated math or advanced technology." Shadow purred loudly, its 6 eyes glowing green with happiness as Sun Mei scratched under its chin. Instead, she smiled, "We found it in the simple wisdom of being kind to cats." And across the galaxy, as night fell on countless worlds, humans and aliens called their cats, both Earth-born and space-born, home for dinner with a simple, universal sound.